When it comes to Toshi, I think there's some positive news, hypothetically, as of right now, and let me explain why, and I'll talk about 2 cents later on in the video, even though nothing I say is financial advice. Well, it's because, first of all, Toshi, not too long ago, they announced on X how they're partnering with Real Go Official. Now, people may be thinking, okay, what is that? I'll talk about that later, but real quick, they say in this post that together, Toshi and Real Go will bring Toshi to life through immersive Web3 gaming. It says adventure begins soon, stay tuned. And I'll stay tuned, all right, because I find this pretty positive. Now, when people like to ask me, okay, what is Real Go? Now, supposedly, from what I can see, actually, Real Go is allegedly the world's first augmented reality and AI and as well as Web3 game where meme intellectual properties come alive. So that's pretty interesting. Now, people may be thinking, okay, sure, that's cool, but what has it really done to the price of Toshi? Well, the way you take a look at it is this. If, let's say, altcoins are not necessarily doing the best, this type of news really isn't going to do much to the price in any significant way in my perspective. However, at the same time, this at least gives me something to look forward to because imagine, right? I see some other projects out there. The price is clearly not doing good. And then also on top of that, they're not really doing anything. So that's kind of like losing from two angles. The price is looking boring. And then in terms of fundamentals, it's not really looking that exciting either. But at least in this case, it gives me something to look forward to and at least showcases to me that the project is, doing something at least. It's not doing nothing, right? The way you take a look at it, or not, how would stuff like this even be a possibility? And I think through something like this, I would say arguably in a sense, Toshi is kind of beginning to be focused, again, somewhat towards something like blockchain gaming. Now, people may be thinking, who cares about blockchain gaming? All the attention disappeared back in 2021. I kind of disagree with that actually, because if I take a look at the blockchain gaming market, it's expected to be worth over $300 billion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. So it's not that bad. Now, that's 2030, it's still ways away, but I think that, if anything, showcases how, when it comes to blockchain gaming, it may not be over just yet. That's the way you take a look at it. I still think there's a ways to go when it comes to blockchain gaming. But again, by no means, I don't think this is going to be the biggest thing out there when it comes to blockchain gaming, but still, it's pretty amazing nonetheless, the way you take a look at it. When it comes to Toshi, actually, it really reminds me of Floki, but back in the day. Let me explain why. When it comes to the BNB Smart Chain and things surrounding just BNB in general, for quite a while, BNB was pretty massive. And sure, it was massive again, but it wasn't really viewed as that mainstream yet, I think, in some cases. Which is why I think something like Floki really kind of arguably somewhat benefited from that, because it was a meme coin that, had this aspect of the BNB Smart Chain. And then also on top of that, we take a look at how it was actually focused on blockchain gaming through something called Valhalla, and then it had a pretty okay use case. However, when really BNB started to gain more of that attention and we saw Floki do pretty good not too long ago, that was kind of the vibe that Toshi's giving me right now. It's kind of giving me those Floki, but before it became mainstream type of vibe. It shares a lot of the similarities. I think Toshi being on the base network, that's pretty unique, much like Floki. And we take a look at the BNB Smart Chain. That was kind of unique at the time. We take a look at Toshi, not only has this kind of positive news coming out with Real Go Official, but also on top of that, we take a look at what they have with Toshi Mart, which is a meme coin launchpad. And also on top of that, we take a look at Toshi Tools, which quite essentially helps guide someone towards their journey to be building on the base network. And Coinbase, it's pretty famous. It's on the S&P 500. It's publicly listed. They have a layer 2. Toshi's on there. And again, this just kind of reminds me of Floki, but back in the day. This is my point of view. And I think, made a pretty good call when it comes to Floki, because even though Floki, along with a bunch of other meme coins, including something like, Toshi, by the way, has had a pretty, big pullback in the grand scheme of things. I mean, yes, Toshi has had a pretty okay recovery, then a pullback, but take a look at where Floki was not too long ago, that really good rally, right? Something like Floki is no stranger to that, but still, considering when I first started talking about Floki compared to right now, it's a totally different case. And one of my first videos ever was actually on Floki. Does it mean Toshi is going to be the next Floki? It does not mean that, but it just gives me that kind of vibe. That's the way to take a look at it. And yeah, sure, when it comes to meme coins, there's a lot of competitors out there. But then at the same time, It's on the base network, and then the thing is, the base network doesn't have, I think, 20 or 30 popular meme coins that I often think about. What I often think about when it comes to the base network, not even just regarding meme coins, I'm talking about just projects in general. I would consider Toshi to be pretty much number two right now in terms of popularity. Now, I think the most popular is, Aerodrome. Aerodrome is a decentralized exchange on the base network. So, of course, it's not a meme coin. But I think Toshi has overtaken Brett. Brett, for the longest time possible, was considered to be the most popular meme coin on the base network, but now it seems to be heading towards Toshi's direction. Don't get me wrong, though. I still believe in Brett. I still like it. But at the same time, Toshi's momentum seems to be heading in the right direction. Brett still has good momentum, but it's a little bit not as dynamic as Toshi as of right now in my perspective. And I think there's a lot of factors as to why that is the case. Probably we take a look at Toshi's amazing listings like Coinbase, like OKX like Binance US. I think that's a major factor. Also on top of that, Toshi just kind of represents more of that base network type of vibe in my perspective because Toshi is named after Brian Armstrong's pet cat. Brian Armstrong is the co-founder of Coinbase, so that kind of makes sense. And also Toshi, the name is very similar to Satoshi Nakamoto. And again, Toshi just kind of gives me more of that base network vibe. It just kind of feels like it's more so having this aspect, I would say. When it comes to something like Brett, it's cool, it's interesting, and it kind of has a little bit of that first mover advantage, I would say, in a way where it was kind of the first, I think, meme coin to really get recognized in a massive way on the base network, so that kind of had that going on for it. But when it comes to Toshi, ever since then, the momentum's kind of been on its side. Because if quite a while back ago, I said Toshi's going to be pretty much more popular than Brett, a lot of people would probably say that's not going to be the case. But then it kind of is as of right now in my perspective. So that's pretty impressive from what I can see as of right now, at least. And I still like this. Again, when it comes to this news, it's nothing necessarily that groundbreaking, but I think it's still positive nonetheless. And if I take a look at something like Toshi at the idea 2 cents, considering current circulating supply, market cap at that point would be around 8.5 billion. It's around a 26x from here. And I get it, Toshi has had a pretty big pullback, but if I just take a look at Toshi and what it has going on for it in terms of the fundamentals and kind of at least what it's been doing so far, that wouldn't necessarily surprise me. Now, people like to say, okay, but it's not going to be the biggest thing out there that's kind of focused on blockchain gaming through this partnership, I would arguably say. I mean, I agree with that because, come on, I don't think it's going to be the biggest thing when it comes to blockchain gaming. However, I think sometimes it's the thought that counts. And I do like this, thought that they put into it because I feel like Toshi's actually being treated seriously. Even though it is a meme coin, I feel like it's being handled the right way in terms of the fundamentals as a meme coin, not in terms of amazing fundamentals of all time, but for the category of a meme coin, it's very impressive. So just around $8.5 billion market cap, it's still nothing that I think surprising to me. However, whenever there is going to be an altcoin season, if it ever even wants to happen, that's entirely not up to me. That's going to depend on, whenever it even wants to happen. Like, I can't control that, but there's only one thing I can do. And that's just staying patient, holding, and just waiting, dollar cost averaging, and that's pretty much about it. I'm not telling them to do anything, but again, I think news like this, it's at least something for me to keep myself positive during a time where altcoins are not necessarily doing the best. So I still like it overall. I still think it's a pretty big victory. I'm staying patient, and that's pretty much about it. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.